Hello and welcome to this episode of Elvenhome, in which we take a look at the work that I've been doing to complete the ballasting up the incline and also the scenic work that I've been doing around that ballasting. And I talk a little bit about the work that's going to be done, and also something which I'm not going to tell you till you get as far there, that in the course of recording the first proper section of the video, it made me realise that I really need to get on and do something. So I did. And as so often, the business of making these videos has encouraged me to get on with a piece of work that I've been putting off for a little while, but which is vital for the work that I need to be doing for the next few months. So leaving you in suspense with that, we'll go on to the section that I recorded about the ballasting work up the incline. Speak to you again in a moment. Well, here we are with the ballasting now completed up the incline and the scenic work, certainly along the back wall of along the back seam. And the ballasting, if I just zoom in a little, comes into just beyond where the hillside is. And I'll come back to why I've deliberately stopped at that point for now. It proved to be less of a reach for me to get the ballasting up to the top there. Let's go a little bit further. You can see it goes all the way around and it stops just by that brown blob on the right there. That's pretty much where the ballasting ends at the moment. I've had no trouble with the ballast magic at the 5:1 ratio. As I said, I think in the last video, when I come to do the ballasting where I can reach the track more easily, I think I'm going to have a go at a lower ratio, because of course you do use up the ballast magic very quickly at a 5:1 ratio. But I'm very pleased with how it's gone. In my last video, David Greenwood commented that where I'd put some just loose ballast at the edge of the platform, between the platform and the rail that you can see just down here. If you zoom in, thank you very much. I took all that up as a consequence, because he quite rightly warned me that it might get caught up in engines because it's loose rather than fixed down. So thank you very much for that. That's come up and some new stuff has gone down and is stuck down. All of that is now fixed down using ballast magic. And you will have seen that I've completed the scenic work in terms of what is essentially a hedge all the way up the incline, and I've now completed by putting more clump foliage in around the hill to blend the hill in to that corner. A little earlier today, and I'll put that up just about now, I took a sweep with the camera from the churchyard around through the vicarage and the gardens, down and up the incline round to whereabouts the hillside is, and it really is it's very satisfying, the effect of doing a bit of scenic work does. It really does make it move from being a kind of large train set to really a model. And I've been very pleased with the way the underbrush in particular has worked. I got two colours of underbrush. I think one of them is olive and the other is mid-green, but I'll put a card up here with the precise types of underbrush that's there. And you're by getting even amounts of the two colours and squidging them together, you can get quite a pleasing effect, which you can probably see actually in this shot here now. If I come in a little bit, you get a nice pleasing effect of not having the same colour. The larger pieces there are clump foliage, which are being used to cover over daubs of brown paint, where my paintbrush, rather inexpertly wielded, hit the back seam rather than the floor of the incline as it was meant to do. But actually, one of the things, looking at them front on, they give a sense of depth and shadow behind them. So I'm going to claim that as a deliberate intent on my part to help with the scenic work once I got there. The clump foliage and the underbrush has had to be put on to make sure I've got the clearance, and I've run coaches and engines up and down that area. But as I was saying about the underbrush, I just sort of mixed two even amounts of colour together into almost a ball really, and let it sort of separate. A few sausage shapes, again mixing the colours, and stuck them on in that way, and then just let them form as they wanted to do. And I think I've probably got a better outcome once again. I mean, you'll remember with the hillside, I just let the plaster cloth and everything sink and sag as it wanted. And I think the same thing has happened with the bushes, because rather than being carefully crafted and planted, they're sort of uneven in a way. And yet, interestingly, there's a fairly constant line, which was entirely by luck. So that's now completed. The one area I've probably got to sort out is there are some gaps with the ballasting, where the ballast is just disappearing down the back of the wall, which I could put some underbrush and stuff on there, and I may have to do that if I can't find another solution. Doug Park Junction thought that might be a possibility, and I agree, although I'm not sure that it would have been, bushes would have been allowed to grow there in the period that I'm modelling, but maybe they would. If I can find a way of getting just some ballast stuck down there, I might try putting just neat PVA to hold the ballast so that it goes on to neat PVA and doesn't all immediately drop down the back of the wall, which is expensive apart from anything else. But I didn't really buy the ballast to coat the back of a wall that I can't see. I've got moved around now to just about where the ballast finishes, which is sort of where those bushes end. And I've deliberately now decided that I'm not going to take it beyond there, because it's one of those things that I've mentioned before about the connectedness of the activities you've got to undertake. I need to build Sharkey Station. I need to complete the wall, obviously, from where it finishes up to Sharkey Station and where the buttress will be. But all of that, the final placing of that is in part determined by how then it goes across on the bridge into what will be the new raised area where all the other buildings are carefully stored at the moment to stop me biffing them. And as I've already learnt, once you do a thing, you rather set anything that follows behind. And I've not yet got in my mind the track layout for High Elven, or where the raised area will begin and end precisely. I mean, I know the broad area it's going to cover, but quite where and how does the hillside come down to meet what will be, I think, a canal, but it may be going back to being a river, but anything, a watercourse that runs under the bridge, which you can just about see behind the pot of ballast. Let's have a look. Let's go in. There you go. So that is not clear in my mind at the moment. So I'm going to leave all of that so that I don't do something irreparable, which or something that requires an awful lot more work. So that really rather completes this section of where I got to on this work. I'm pleased with this. This is really beginning to come together as a model railway and not just a really rather intricate train set, as I've said before. So probably a running section after this, once I've decided the order of play from all the various bits I've got, and I'll speak to you again in just a moment. After I reviewed the last section, it occurred to me that so much turns on the design of High Elven. And I keep saying, oh, I can't do this until I've done that. So the answer is work out what High Elven's going to look like. And so I've done that in two ways. One, I've worked out what the total area bounded by the raised area will be, which is going to be 33 inches from the top to the bottom as you're looking at this map, and 30 inches from one side to the other. And once I've finished this section, I'm going to print all this out and then put it on the layout so you can get some idea of how it might look there. This is very much my first design with which I'm comfortable. I had 2 or 3 others, but they were all in the way that I tend to do, very rectilinear, so it sort of all went parallel with things. And life doesn't normally go parallel with things in this way. So to take you through, up here is where the line is going to come off the bridge. So it will come off the bridge and immediately come to a left-hand point which swings into the station. And through here we come down. This here is High Elven Station. I hope you can see my little pointer doing its thing. This is High Elven Station. It comes down into the station, and I've put in a loop to enable trains to run round, because although I suspect this the pannier, for example, with the auto coach would just be able to go straight back out again, I rather like the Class B set that I've got, and that would need to have engines running round. That also gives me the opportunity to have here an engine shed, which you've seen on the layout. Actually, I think I've got it here in front of me. I will bring it into camera. There it is. Hurrah. This is a Metcalfe engine shed. That's a bit dark, isn't it, really? Never mind, with the light behind it. But that, I think, would be the kind of little engine shed that would be stored up at High Elven, so an engine could be left up there and serviced while it's up there. So we'll put some a water tower and some coal staves up there that to enable it to be replenished. But that can come off the reversing loop. And then this area here is where I'm going to put a goods facility in. This line up the top here is just a head shunt, essentially. Partly in case I need to have a shunting engine waiting to be able to release an engine that's brought in coal wagons. So that should work quite well. And just a few roads. This isn't a huge goods area, but it is about getting barley and other essential supplies down to Weathertop in a fairly straightforward way. This will be a Metcalfe goods shed. I've got the kit to build up. And these are all obviously worked on the total sizes expected. And these obviously are just a couple of good sidings. And that, I think, will give me room, but we'll see when we put it on the layout, to do something here that would suggest where goods were coming in. And then in this big white area here, right the way up here, I can put a village of High Elven up on the raised area, and we'll see what sorts of things we may be able to fit into that once I'm able to get this up on the layout. So what I'm going to do now is, as I said, I'll print this out. I've printed it all out already, actually, and I've only just put the platform in. So the one you'll see will not have the platform in, but I don't think that makes too much difference. And we'll have a look at what it looks like in real life. So I'll speak to you again in just a moment. A little bit of time spent with a craft knife and some Pritt stick, and this is the full-size print of the layout. I haven't bothered to print out the wholly blank pieces of paper that bound the area that's within this black line, and that is of course very square. Whether it's actually, it won't be entirely square when I create it, but that's the sort of area that I want to have for High Elven. And you can see rather pleasingly, one of the things that I was worried about was that where these points are, whether they would foul the running line underneath. And in fact, none of these points or these ones are above the running lines. Those two are close to them. And it may be when I come to actually build it that I make some adjustment there. I did do some work before I thought about this, to see what is the clearance between the top of an engine and where the bottom of a point motor would be, and I think I have enough space, but we'll have a good hard look at that. And if I need to, I think I would happily go with surface mounted motors at the back there, because I can disguise them pretty well. I think then it's not ideal, but plainly equally it's not ideal to have wires and what have you sitting above the track, with the potential for engines to get caught up in them. But High Elven Station will sit along here. I mentioned that the one you saw, I'd actually put the station on, and I printed this out just before I recorded that last section. And that will give me this area to put something of a town scene in, or a village scene, for the station. What I'll probably do then now, which I now need to think about, if I come down a bit further, you'll see I'd always had it in mind that a road would come in from here, probably from a tunnel or something, and it may well be that I'll take the hillside pretty much right down to the front of the board, so that a roadway enters from a tunnel and will now come through here and through that left-hand arch of the bridge, which you can just about see. I've tested it with the removals van, and I can get 2 removal van widths through there, and the bridge will then go up and over the river. I think it's going back to being a river, to climb then up at some point onto that wooden board that you can see there, which will be sort of blended in, and then the road swinging round through this way up to the roads, which are essentially a U shape, so that will bring it back on itself. So this has been a very useful exercise. This is, as I mentioned, the first, or well, it's probably the third to be fair, but the first proper iteration of this plan. I think it works. I think it will be okay for handling goods in this sort of area, the station in this area with its engine shed. And if I can find the engine shed, which I've moved somewhere now, oh, there it is. This is the actual engine shed, and if I put it on, you can see the accuracy of the plan. The size included the doors being open, so that's where the engine shed would sit. The station will finish about here. This is just a head shunt to allow the train to run round, and then with a water column and some coal stays there, I think we will be okay. So that, I'm rather pleased with that. I hadn't intended to do that today at all. But this is giving me a really good idea of this area. More importantly, as you can see, perched on that bottle, it shows me precisely where the bridge is. And now that I've got that fixed, I can get on and build Sharkey's station, site the abutment for the bridge, because at the moment you'll see the abutment, if I go in a little bit further, just gently, you'll see that the abutment is just flush up against the end of where the incline finishes. So I'll have to put in a wider section in there and a bit more land for it to sit on, which probably means that under that bridge on the right hand side I can now have some kind of pathway, which will go under then the road bridge, the road that will be climbing up at that point as well. So already I've got lots of ideas buzzing around in my head, and that's really very useful. Happy to take any comments, if anyone's got any comments on the plan, and I think that is going to work rather well. I haven't worked out how I'm going to create the upper area, but one of the things that's quite useful, as you can see, because there's this big white area here, I am going to need access underneath at some point, and I've got to build that in so that I can clean the track and rescue any locomotives that get stuck, or if we have any derailments. We shouldn't have once I've got the board up there. But that I'm really rather pleased with. So on that note, I'll finish here, and then I'll come back in just a minute to wind up this month's video. Well, that just about wraps up this edition of Elven Home. And as I said at the start, and now how you've now seen, the development of the layout has taken a big step forward today. Now that I've got an idea of what High Elven, the track layout's going to be, where my bridge is going to be, and as a consequence I can now really start work on thinking about Sharkey's End station and getting all that fixed into place, which will complete then the perimeter of one side of the L all the way down to halfway along its foot, and that will be good. Now that we're into August and we have the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh and also the main festival, I probably will be early September before I put my next video up. Not least because, as I'll be doing so many other things, I may not have as much time to work on the layout, so this can be my summer break. So until I speak to you again, if you've got a holiday coming up, I hope you thoroughly enjoy it. And if you've enjoyed the video, please do like the video. If you haven't subscribed before, please do hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you know when things are being uploaded. And please do let me have your comments, particularly on whether what you think of the proposed layout for High Elven and its goods yard. But until I speak to you again, bye bye.